Morning, everybody. Thanks to Hort Innovations for the invitation to present today. It's pretty exciting to be across the border. I live in good old New South Wales, and it's great to have that opportunity to visit Brisbane. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what my organisation actually does in the space of education, and specifically in the case of horticulture education. So PIFA, Primary Industries Education Foundation of Australia, is a not-for-profit organisation, and our main aim is to collaborate with industry, Australian government and a number of education organisations to develop and promote teaching materials to do with agriculture, horticulture and the like. So we work with schools and teaching organisations across Australia to do this. And we develop materials and promote content for every year group in schools. We have a number of programs and websites and resources that we provide that enable us to develop this education pathway. So PIFA itself has a number of programs related to we have a monthly newsletter, and you can sign up for that newsletter if you go to pifa.edu.au. As well, we hold a number of online forums where we invite industry members to talk about their work in education, but also in their industries. And it would be great to have a couple of horticulture representatives over the next couple of months. So if you are interested in knowing more about that, I'm quite happy to talk to you after the presentation or in one of the questions. Our two main websites that provide resources with a number of educational resources is Primezone. Primezone has nearly 700 teaching resources for teachers about food and fibre. And when I use that term, food and fibre is the term that's used in the Australian curriculum. And that encompasses both agriculture and horticulture. And to encompass fibre, I know a lot of teachers think that fibre is what you eat in your breakfast cereal every morning. Yes, it is, but actually fibre in our context is about cotton and about timber products and about wool. And so we encompass all those areas of production. So Primezone and Primezone Academy is our relatively new online tool that allows us to allow students to engage in online courses. So as a result of COVID, we reconfigured a lot of our resources towards looking at students engaging interactively with resources online. And you and I know that the messages that go into the classroom, those important messages about how wonderful our industries might be, need to be crafted in such a way that we get the right message into the classroom, and that teachers don't have to work hard. And we know from some research that we've done that 80% of teachers go to Google and type in how to grow vegetables and end up at a website in the USA. And they use a lot of that information in their classroom. So we've got to move towards more targeted resourcing and also really targeted towards the Australian conditions and Australian experience. Our other program is called Farmer Time. So it's a virtual farm tour. And that allows us to connect producers or anyone along the supply chain. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a producer on a farm. And the whole point of all of this is that we're trying to break down some barriers and stereotypes about agriculture and horticulture. A lot of our students, parents and society in general, when they think of agriculture or horticulture, think of old man on a John Deere tractor ploughing up the soil and causing dust storms in Sydney and Melbourne. those sort of perspectives. We need to get, we need to provide a better perspective on that in terms of, we know that horticulture as an industry has come such a long way. And that, from my experience as well as from seeing what I saw in the exhibition hall yesterday, it's just amazing to see that technology is so much part of efficient farming and efficient development of our industry. So Farmer Time is a virtual farm tour, and we'd dearly love to have more horticulture producers and anyone along the supply chain, really. It's vitally important we get those messages into the classroom. And if we can do it live, it doesn't necessarily have to be out in the field. It's these messages that are really important. It really breaks down those barriers. And the fourth area that we work with is careers. We have a website called Career Harvest. Career Harvest allows us to promote career pathways, scholarships, and information about courses and university and TAFE related courses that are available. And we're constantly looking at ways of improving that. And one of the things that I'm looking at the moment is short snippets of videos about the day in the life of. And those short snippets are very powerful in getting those messages into the classroom and encouraging more young people to get involved in our industries. Who am I? Well, I actually grew up in a market garden in northwest Sydney. My parents were Italian migrants who came here. Actually, my family arrived here 100 years ago into Australia. And so my parents grew flowers, cut flowers and vegetables. So I have a horticulture degree. I've always had a great love of plants, and apart from working in, I actually was at Sturt University for a short period of time, and I was at Western Sydney University. I was a high school teacher teaching agriculture in Western Sydney, but I've been the CEO of PIFA for about a year. So I've got a huge passion for students knowing where their food comes from and really engaging in our industries. I'm going to throw this up here. We did a research study on students' knowledge and sentiment of primary industries, and we threw up a question about how much do you know about these particular industries? And I'm just highlighting a couple of things there. Fruit and vegetable growing is always at the very top. Students feel they connect with fruit and vegetables because they eat fruit and vegetables daily, and they're exposed to it all the time. So it's one aspect that's the voices are talking to us again. And as a teacher, I know that when I talk about fruit and vegetable production, just as an example here, that students really love to engage in growing vegetables and understanding about where vegetables and fruits come from, and that whole aspect. So we've got a really important thing here in terms of we have a foot in the door in terms of horticulture and those aspects of fruit and vegetables. Is this some sort of Hort innovation sort of the messages? All good. All right, I know I'm running out of time. Jim the timekeeper. So what does this all mean? Okay, so Primary Industries Education Foundation and Hort Innovation Hort Innovation is a member of and partner with PIFA to develop teaching resources, and we've collaborated on 2 new teaching resources which will be released very soon. One of them is a Year 7 and 8 resource called Green Your Scene. So it's predominantly about the importance of green spaces in and outside the home. So it's highlighting the nursery and turf industries, and the key messages here is about the connection between the importance of green spaces in relation to health and well-being. The second resource is about protected cropping. And this one targets Year 9 Geography. And so we're looking at the different production systems and how farmers and producers are modifying the environments in which they grow their crops to better manage those crops. And so focus there is from blueberries and cucumber production. And the important thing about all of this is that when we talk about developing teaching materials, we're talking about teaching materials in every subject. I've got schools teaching maths to Year 3 kids using honeybees. I've got teachers teaching geography using horticulture. Farmer Time, as I said, if you're interested in being engaged in Farmer Time, please have a chat with me. And there's our social media links there if you're interested in following us, and if you'd like more information, please get in contact. Thank you.
Well, yeah, like Jim says, I'm from Rimfire Resources. I've been with them for about 6 years, and I've been heading up their graduate program for a number of years. Back in about 2015-16, we started a partnership with Hort Innovation, and we looked at, they were looking at addressing one of the strategic goals at the time, had been addressing how to build capacity in people in the horticultural sector. So what we wanted to look at in this was about how can we increase the graduate interest in horticulture, and how can we build that pool of talent coming through. So really the target was that for this particular program was around that university level of education, and really bringing those skill sets into the industry. So we partnered with Hort Innovation and also with the Australian Rural Leadership Foundation, and we developed a program with these four sort of organisations, GradLink being part of Rimfire Resources, to build a program where we could bring graduates into the industry. So we partnered with host businesses, so industry businesses, and support them in finding graduates into their business, initially in a 10-week internship. And then if that all goes swimmingly well, which obviously is what we're aiming for, then we look to put them in for a year's position there at the business in a whole range of roles. So the program is very broad. We've included roles from, we had a mechatronics engineer, we've had a process engineer, we've had some agronomists, we've had people in quality assurance, in other parts of the business. So bringing them into the business, spending some time there in an internship, and then hopefully going on for a year in that business and attending a Rural Leadership Foundation program, which was very specifically designed for this cohort, and aimed at building their leadership capacity. So telling them about how to, or exposing them to different leadership styles, so broadening their horizons in terms of where leadership opportunities might be within their development, even if they're not in a leader position in itself. So the program really initially is up front is that engagement with industry, so engaging with people that have maybe thought about bringing in a graduate into their business and worried about the risk, or really don't quite know where to start, and engaging with them and building that connection, and then going with that to support them in how they could bring a graduate into their business, what it might look like, how they might roll it out, how they might structure it, and every individual business has been different. Bigger businesses might look at having someone in an internship where they might rotate around the business. Some businesses are a bit smaller, might have someone shadow in a role. Some grads have maybe hit the ground running a little bit more and do something active within the business straight away. And then we go out and source a graduate for them. And that's where we've leveraged off our GradLink program. That program's been running since about 2004. So it's got really established relationships into the universities and good connection across Australia. So we leveraged off that network to attract graduates into these roles. And the vast majority of those graduates are ones that hadn't really considered horticulture as an opportunity. So a lot of them, have come in from a more traditional expectation. They might have in their heads they might go into livestock and they might go into broadacre farming, and really trying to encourage them into horticulture. In some cases, we had a process engineer who really thought his only options were into the mining sector, and he ended up in horticulture. So really trying to keep that broad, and then really trying to bring them into the sector. We support the companies in finding that graduate, securing that graduate, and then rolling out this 10-week internship. In most cases, they've been very successful, and they've gone on to do that year's position with the business. And during that first year, well, most of them their first year, some of them the second year because of COVID, they've attended this Rural Leadership Foundation program, which has really been an appealing aspect for our grads to see that there's that personal professional development right in the first part of their career. So it's been a really big draw card as well for the program. So really what I want to do today was also give an opportunity to invite up a couple of grads that have actually been through the program. So I've got Jack and Connor with me today. And so I'm going to hand over to them to tell you a little bit about their story and what got them into horticulture and their journey so far. You want to come up, Jack?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Jack Tate. I'm a graduate sales agronomist for ImTrade Crop Science. I guess you could say my journey to where I am now is probably quite unique compared to a lot of people. I actually started studying podiatry at La Trobe University and ended up in ag science. So feet to farming is certainly a little bit different. I guess for me, a unique challenge that I had as well was that I'm actually from Melbourne originally, so I grew up in the city, and I also didn't have any farming background. So I guess that's what sort of prompted me to join the GradLink program. So I joined that in 2019. Throughout the course of that year, I was introduced to people like Gemma, and we sort of remained in regular contact right up until I got my job with ImTrade. I guess the benefits for me with the course was it obviously provided me with regular job updates, but for me the most important thing was the support network that it provided me with. I vividly remember a conversation I actually had with Gemma, sort of when I was struggling, I suppose, to get a job. And she gave me some great advice, and some of that advice was obviously to get a hands-on role, and then also actually just move out of Melbourne. So I did that, and ultimately that led me to get in the position that I'm in today. As Gemma touched on as well, the Australian Rural Leadership Foundation, I did that course earlier this year. And whilst that was quite challenging at times, it was also very valuable, and I'm using a lot of the stuff that I learnt there today in my role. I guess when it comes to Hort, I didn't really learn a great deal about Hort at university, admittedly. I guess my first experience was when I was given the chance to move up to the Northern Rivers just for a week and do a job trial with a macadamia agronomist, and I guess from there I sort of developed a bit of a passion. The next sort of experience for me was working at Anderson's Horticulture, which was part of the advice that Gemma had given me to get a more hands-on role. And then from there I obviously got the job with ImTrade. And I guess what I've enjoyed so far is it's given me a great variety of stuff that I've been able to learn so far. I mean, in the past couple of weeks I've been doing things with sweet potatoes to macadamias to avocados, and I see that as a really exciting opportunity for me. And I also get to live in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales, so that's also a very nice aspect of the business, and being able to travel all the way along the east coast of Australia.
My name is Connor Burke. I work for Manmaloo. I've been working there for 3 years now. I'm actually similar to Jack, I'm from Ballina, from the coast. I'm not really from an agricultural background. I went to UQ and studied agribusiness there. And throughout that whole time, I was exposed to beef, chemical companies, NAB agribusiness, but never anything really on horticulture. But through the and so I was never really had it in my mind, but through this program I was able to apply for a job at Manmaloo. I think at the time I was going up against someone who was about 35 years old. He was similar experience to me, had a lot more experience than me. And so I think the program helped Manmaloo get assurance, and it felt like it was less of a risk to hire a new graduate, because they had this, part funding for my first year of salary, but also the leadership program. So it set a stance for a long-term hiring of this is a long-term thing. It wasn't just some grad that was going to be here for a year. So I feel like the program was really good in that sense. It just took away some of the risk, I think, for Manmaloo as a hiring company. I think I'm an interesting point, because there's a lot of people who come obviously from the country into the city, but I feel like there's not as much pull from the city or, people not from an agricultural background to go back out to the bush. And so I think that this program was really good for that, because I had no real desire to go back out, but a job like this, which I had no idea about even existed, it's really appealing to someone my age. I can live in the city, I can travel, I can go to the farms. It's just, it's awesome. So I think that the graduate engagement program is really helped me and helped me want to stay in the program and come in the first place. Thank you.
So just one last little comment was around what Connor was saying. I think what the program has really done is given businesses an opportunity to take that risk, to take in a graduate into their business. It's taken away some of that fear and some of that risk of taking someone who doesn't have any industry experience into their business. So that's really probably the biggest benefit I've seen so far.
Good morning and thank you. Welcome everybody, and thanks to Hort Innovation for giving me so many opportunities across my career. So just to tell you a little bit about ourselves, we are potato farmers and we supply to Coles supermarkets. We also supply to food manufacturers and the wholesale food industry. So we actually are in control of our supply chain. So we grow across Queensland. Everything's brought back to our pack house in Killarney, and we fresh cut vegetables at our facility. And that's basically one of my day-to-day roles, is to make sure that everything's going very well in the factory. We have about 50 employees across our farming operation. And it keeps us very, very busy. Our business is a fourth generation business, so I have come into the business from a teaching career when my mother retired, and I come into the business, and then I thought we need to keep up to date with everything in our business and try and figure out what's for us in the future. So a part of this is getting into industry bodies and advisory groups. So we're levy payers, so I decided that I needed to actually have a say about how our money was spent and what direction our industry was going in. So joining those advisory groups was very good. And then in 2015, I was very honoured to be awarded the Women in Horticulture Award. And that really gave me some courage and confidence to know that what I was doing in the business was recognised. And then Hort Innovation gave me the opportunity to do a women's leadership course. And the Women's Leadership Course Australia was a very, very good course that I can recommend to any women. And when I turned up at this course, I thought that I was going to be in a room with a lot of other Hort people, or even in the ag sector. But that's not how the course was. I was in a room with a lot of other women, probably about 6 or 7 women in lots of different industries. So medical industry, accounting industry, security industry, IT industry, travel industry. But there was something that brought us all together, and we all had the same problems within our business. So, and actually doing that course, so that course was it was a 12-month course, and we only had 2 hours a week basically outside, which was delivered by online. We did some psychometric testing. We learnt so much about ourselves and our styles and what our leadership styles were. We had face-to-face workshops, which were in Brisbane, so most of the other women were for Brisbane. I was probably the only one that travelled, but that was fine. We had interactive webinars, and we also had executive coaching sessions, which I found very, very good to help learn about our own business and to talk problems through. So a coach doesn't tell you what to do, they make you work out your own, if you have some problems you can work through them and work them out yourself. And there was also ongoing peer coaching, which is excellent, and I have kept in touch with some of the women from the course as well. And the other scholarship I received was a Nuffield Scholarship, and I can encourage anyone who wants to learn more about their business or more about themselves and more about how they can change things into the future to definitely investigate a Nuffield Scholarship. It gave me the opportunity to travel the world, and I feel very lucky that I got to do that before COVID. So that was, not many people are going to be able to do that moving forward, but they will find other strategies and other ways to actually connect with people. But yeah, so that access to global network was amazing. The travel opportunities were amazing. I got to see a lot of industry that was very similar to what we're doing, only they're using different strategies and different things. And I also got to see not only vegetables, but all sorts of industries within the agricultural industry that you can take away ideas or strategies. At the end of the day, they're all businesses, and they all face a lot of similar challenges. And bringing those ideas back home is actually it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And Nuffield is a lifelong learning, so there's lots of connecting, networking, people that it opens doors that wouldn't normally open to you in your own business if you were just knocking on the door to ask someone to have a look or ask them how they did something or things like that. So it's a very open community, and it also gives you outside of the box ideas, because generally when you look at a business and you think, oh well, they've come up with a really great idea, normally that idea just didn't spark and it just happened and it just worked immediately. Normally there's a lot of thinking behind it, there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of reasons why that idea became a big part of their business or something like that. So, and it's also very, very new and innovative, and you're getting to see the latest cutting edge technology and ideas and people. So really, 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 really recommend that. I could bring those ideas back home and I could share them with not only my family, but people within our business. And it has changed the culture of how we look at things. So some people just really like just doing the same thing the same way every day because it's comfortable. And this, the Nuffield Scholarship just put me completely out of my comfort zone. I did things that I didn't think that I could ever do. And it gave me the confidence to take steps in our business now. So I've brought some technology back home to our business now, which we'll be implementing very, very soon. And it's something that I can completely recommend. So if you if there's opportunities within your industry to do personal and professional development, I can totally encourage you to do it, because the time and effort I have spent to do this has given me, the payback has been absolutely enormous. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, I have to be away from my business. But what it's brought back is absolutely priceless. So I know I'm not going to bang on about women and women in leadership. It's for everyone. So, you know, if there's courses out there to do, I don't care whether you're young, you're old, you're male or you're female, you just need to get off your bum and do it. Thank you.
Thank you. So a question for Luciano. So you gave that very interesting stat about 80% of teachers going to Google for their information.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just interested, does your organisation have any other research around teachers' behaviour in accessing materials, and do you know what that means for the materials that you provide for teachers?
Great question. Yes, so I mentioned the student survey that we conducted. Recently we've conducted a teacher survey, and we've been looking at teacher resource needs. Where do they go to get information? And the sorts of things that they're searching for. So we've made a very strong correlation between teachers who access industry websites. So we're supported by nearly all of the agricultural research and development corporations, and a lot of those organisations have websites with resources. And so a lot of teachers go to our Primezone website as well as the industry organisations. But your question about what sort of was it about what sort of questions they're asking when they're going to search for information?
Other research that you have about teacher behaviour.
Yeah. So basically, the information, and we're actually the data has only just been analysed. So teachers generally, putting my teacher hat on, teachers are very time poor. So therefore, they're looking for information that's readily available, off the shelf, sort of ready to go. So teachers generally these days don't have a lot of time to put together all these resources. There's a lot of teachers who are very well prepared, but there's a whole heap of other teachers who are not. One of the other crises that we have in Australia at the moment is the lack of technology teachers. Agriculture, home economics, cooking and industrial arts are in major decline. We just can't get enough teachers who are interested in those teaching pathways. A lot of that's to do with the lack of understanding and knowledge about those particular areas. And so we've got lack of teachers over here, teachers who just are time poor. They're trying to find information readily. They'll go to Google, get a worksheet. So in terms of the numbers of teachers that come to us, we generally have the current stats are for Primezone. We have about 4,000 users a month of teachers that access our resources, and we have resources across every subject area. So,
Right. Okay. Thanks. Let's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just coming.
Mike Badcock from Chanted Isle Farms, North West Coast, Tasmania. Fantastic effort what you're doing there, and we do need a lot more skills in our industry. But the challenge between practical and theory, we find a lot of industries are wanting more practical than just a graduate education's coming. I just wonder whether any members of the panel would be able to comment on that.
I'll give it a shot. Yeah, I agree. I think there is definitely a demand for that practical skill set. What I think we're finding, and I only deal with university graduates, just to be clear, that my strength is not in vocational training. That's just what we do and what my focus is. I think what I would say is a lot of the universities definitely have that intention to incorporate some more of the practical skill sets. My advice has always been, as Jack can attest to, that they do go out wherever possible and try and get some practical experience and exposure. Teaming the two together brings a really great skill set. There is always a challenge of people who have been out and done their degree and then sort of feel that they want to make sure they're using their technical skills and they're not just labouring, and they want to be able to do both. And I think that is a challenge that we face. And I guess in some ways also there is that horses for courses. There's always going to be some people who are going to want to be more production focused and some that are going to be more technical focused. And maybe they're not always going to be drawn from a university background. So I think outside that's probably where Luciano's comes in more with that sort of opening the eyes of people to that opportunity in agriculture through alternative pathways.
Right, one more question. Yes.
Hi, Claire Hamilton-Bate. I work at Mambaloo with Connor. But my question, and it sort of relates to the previous two, I did horticulture a very long time ago in the UK, and the way the courses were structured there, they were sandwich courses, so you did 6 months in uni and 6 months out in industry every year for 3 years, and then you went off and graduated and went out to work in the industry. And that, for me, those 6 months that I did, a little bit like, the shorter placements that students have now. But that really, to address Mike's point, it gave me real hands-on experience. So I had 2 offers from 2 of my sandwich placements before I finished my degree. Is there a reason why we don't have a structure like that? Because the whole course is no longer overall, it's a 3 or 4 year course, but that to me is a really good model to get hands-on practical graduates out to industry.
There's quite a bit of, did you know, head nodding, handballing going on. It's like, somebody's going to answer this one. What do you think?
We'll take that as a comment. If I could just focus on Kerri-Ann for a minute before we finish. You've got a team of workers in your operations. What are the sort of career paths that you've created for them?
I think during... we always look at training and training our sort of up and coming superstars and our young farmers and people within our factory and looking over different areas. And during, obviously, labour shortage has been a little bit of a problem, but during this period of COVID, we have had some very loyal staff retire, and they're the people that show up every day. They know their work, they're very committed, and you can't tell someone that they can't retire. So we've probably lost about 4 or 5 people to retirement, and we have a very good retention rate for our employees. And we always do look at training, but I think it's really forced us at the moment to really look at that training and really train our younger people, and to find people within our business who we think we can identify as we might need to move them into a different area, or we might need to train them to do something a little bit different. We might need to upskill them. And some people don't necessarily just say, look, I want to do that job, or I want to upskill, or I want to. Sometimes it's that encouragement and that recognition of what they can do. So at the moment, it has really identified that we need to encourage people within our business to actually diversify, step up, and do different things. So yeah, so it's not only just external. I think COVID has forced us to look internally, and it's been very, very positive.
Yeah. Thank you, Kerri-Ann. Please join with me in thanking the panel for a very